I was happening, y'all. Your boy Rico is back, moving, not just one picture. Just gonna start off with shades a little bit. I'm good, I'm straight, but you know what I'm saying, this light is too bright, so I'm probably gonna wear shades more often, period, even like months and years from now. But before I get into this video, I wanted to announce that I am still working on the draft review, analysis, and grade. That's gonna be my next video unless something random pops up like some breaking news. I'm also doing a live stream today, tomorrow, depending on whenever you hear this, Sunday at 2 p.m. as usual. It's gonna double up as my 5K subscriber celebration. And then I want to start diving into a lot of those videos I promised, like the Air Coryell offense and all of that type of stuff. So all of that's on the way. So it's time to get to work. Right now I want to give y'all my very early 2020 Redskins 53-man roster projection. Remember that we don't move to the heightened roster cap. I think it's like 59 or 58 or something like that, until next season, the 2021 season, because that's when we'll actually have an extra regular season game. But this season, even with the added playoff game, we still technically have the exact same amount of games throughout the season. The second seed and now the 7th seed are now playing during wild card weekend. But it's technically not an extra game for a lot of people, so it's still the 53-man roster for 2020. Also, just to let y'all know, prior to 4 p.m. September 5th, 2020, Eastern Time, that's when teams must submit their 53-man roster. They're allowed like 90 throughout the off-season training camp and all of that. And then September 5th is when we'll officially get the real 53-man roster for the 2020 season. Of course, it fluctuates, it changes. People get hurt, people get cut, people get added, all that type of stuff. But it has to remain 53 people. And this video is me projecting what it's going to look like on September 5th, once it's officially finalized by the Redskins, led by Ron Rivera. So let's get it. Alright, so first of all, for the offense, I have 26 total players. And of course, with 3 specialists, that means that I have 24 players for my defense. We're going to break it all down, but starting with the offense, of course, we're starting with the QBs. I have Dwayne Haskins and Kyle Allen. That's it. That's all we need. Dwayne Haskins is the franchise quarterback. Kyle Allen is the dependable backup that already knows the offense. Has been with Scott Turner for 2 years in Carolina. Low ceiling, high floor. Dwayne Haskins is the high ceiling, relatively, kind of low floor guy. So, of course, he's the franchise guy. But Kyle Allen is a pretty nice backup to have. And then Steven Montez, who we brought up as an undrafted free agent, even though I'm pretty sure he's going to get a lot of the preseason snaps and stuff like that, I doubt he's going to make the roster. I'm pretty sure the days of us having 3 quarterbacks are over, especially since Dwayne Haskins and Kyle Allen are both not labeled injury prone yet. So we can just go in with 2 quarterbacks, and Steven Montez will probably just be on the practice squad waiting anyway. So that makes a lot of sense there. Not much to explain there. And then running backs, we have 5 of them. In a perfect world with no injuries, Darius Geis and Bryce Love should be the Redskins' 2-headed monster. Should literally be the best running back duo in the league if they reach their potential and if they're able to stay fully healthy. But that's not a perfect world, so you also need to have Adrian Peterson, who's a dependable, can play 16 games a season, get you 1,000 yards easily guy, first and second down running back. And then J.D. McKissick is the 3rd down back. And then you have Antonio Gibson, who we just recently drafted in the 3rd round, who's going to be an important chess piece. He's the one that Scott Turner loved at the combine, and Ron Rivera took him for him in the 3rd round of this past draft in 2020. And now you have a secret weapon, a Swiss Army knife, a deadly chess piece that can play both running back and wide receiver, which also helps with the whole 53-man roster cuts because he's technically both. So in a way, he counts for running back and wide receiver, but for the purpose of this 53-man roster, he's just only going to be running back. Even though he will be used in the slot quite a bit, he'll possibly be out wide sometimes, but Scott Turner plans on getting really tricky with him. Scott Turner has showed from his time in Carolina that he likes to run several different plays out of the same look, out of the same offensive formation. So defenses will never know what's going on. They'll always be on their toes. And Antonio Gibson allows you to do that and be very successful with it. You don't know if he's going to be the running back. You don't know if he's going to be the wide receiver. You don't know if he's going to be on a sweep, a reverse, a screen. I mean, even some flea flickers. You never know. I mean, Antonio Gibson is going to be used in every way possible. I'm excited about him. Which leaves off Peyton Barber, sadly, but As much as I like Peyton Barber, I don't think it's very likely that he'll end up making the 53-man roster. Might end up on the practice squad more than likely. But if one of these other guys gets hurt, then it's Peyton Barber's time to shine. Now the wide receivers, I have 6 of them. Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 1, easily. Pro Bowl season coming, they already know. Steven Sims Jr., slot receiver, one of the best in the league, I believe. People will find out this season for sure. Kelvin Harmon, possession receiver, 6'2", can move the chains, and has barely even scratched the surface according to Santana Moss. Expect big things out of him. Then you have recent 4th round draft pick Antonio Gandy-Golden, arguably one of the biggest steals in the draft, and that's not just coming from me or anybody in Redskins Nation or Redskins reporter. This is coming from unbiased, neutral opinions from all around the league. Bleacher Report, ESPN, all of those guys. So expect big things out of him. 6'4", red zone threat. Is faster than people think, especially since he ran a 4.6 at the combine. On tape, he runs way faster than that. He's way quicker than that. Has the ability to stop on a dime. Can grab anything out the air. Great field presence. And for somebody that's 6'4", his release is deadly and quick. Pressman corners cannot stop him and throw him off course like they're usually able to with big receivers. So expect big things out of Antonio Gandy-Golden. He might finally be that second punch that we've been needing to go along with Terry McLaurin. Then you have Cody Latimer, who we picked up from the Giants, and he has a lot of potential. So I'm expecting, with the way that this season is looking for Ron Rivera, he's going to throw a whole lot of potential out there and see if they work out. If you work out, you'll be here in 2021. If you don't, you won't. But he's going to take chances on a lot of people. A lot of the guys with the high ceiling, low floors, with a lot of potential. The big boom or big bust guys are going to get a lot of work. And not even just in training camp or preseason, but also in the regular season. They're going to get meaningful snaps to see if they're really worth it. I'm expecting people like Cody Latimer with a high ceiling to not only make this roster, but also get a lot of good looks. And then Isaiah Wright, the undrafted free agent. I like Jonathan Johnson a lot. He's very quick, but Isaiah Wright is just another Swiss Army knife. That's what I forgot to mention about Antonio Gibson. He's a great returner, should automatically be our best returner. As excited as we were to replace Trey Quinn with Steven Sims in the return game, you should be that same amount of happy to replace Steven Sims with Antonio Gibson. That's how great he's going to be in return game. But at the same time, Isaiah Wright is right there with him. He's basically a baby Antonio Gibson. I mean, he's taller, 6'2", weighs a little less, but Swiss Army knife, can play receiver, can play running back, great return guy, very quick, and of course he's 6'2", so he's pretty tall. Expect him to also be a Swiss Army knife, important chess piece in this offense. Scott Turner's going to love him also. I'm pretty sure that was a Scott Turner signing. And then, of course, with those 6 making the team, I'm predicting that Cam Sims might not make it. I'm not sure if Ron Rivera is even attached to him. I like Cam Sims. I want to see what he can do, especially now that we're expecting to have a very efficient and exciting offense. He may be able to shine in it. So we'll see how it goes in training camp if he's able to beat out one of these guys. But if I had to put my money on any of them, I'd put my money on the guys that Ron Rivera and the group have signed themselves or drafted themselves, rather than somebody from the previous regime. And Cam Sims and also Trey Quinn are part of the previous regime. And as you can see, I definitely have Trey Quinn not making the team, mostly because Steven Sims has that locked down. He is the slot receiver. But when in doubt, if you want another one, Isaiah Wright can be that guy. Antonio Gibson, the running back, can be that guy, especially when he improves his route running. So we're pretty good at slot receiver anyway without Trey Quinn. Then I have 4 tight ends. I know a lot of people usually try to keep 3 tight ends, but this group has a lot of potential, and it's going to be a big position battle throughout this entire season. Not even just training camp or preseason, like I said. The regular season. There's going to be several position groups duking it out to see who's the best of the best in that position group. And that includes tight end. I'm assuming Thaddeus Moss, when healthy, is going to be the best blocking tight end. And with him having a 46 number, I'm expecting him to also double as a fullback at times. And then he was also the most sure-handed, doesn't drop any passes that come his way guy out of this tight end class, out of the entire 2020 tight end class. So I'm expecting him to be a deadly red zone threat and third down threat also. So I'm expecting big things of Thaddeus Moss, especially if he can improve his route running. He's never going to truly be fast because you can't teach speed, but if he's able to improve his route running, he can be that dual threat tight end that we've been waiting for years. His blocking is already there. He might already be the best blocking tight end on this entire roster. The best blocking tight end we've had in I don't know how long. And then you have Hale Hinges. I liked what I saw from him those last 2 games of the season, so we'll see what we get out of him. There was potential there. He had a few drops, but he looked like he was doing a little something. Then you have Jeremy Sprinkle. I can see him making the team just off of the fact that he's already been in the flow with the Redskins organization for so long already. Even though he's part of the previous regime, it shouldn't take him long to get up to speed with how Scott Turner and Ron Rivera want things ran, just off of the fact that he's already been with the Redskins for so long. And then you have Logan Thomas, who's the athletic freak, the super high ceiling guy that I'm pretty sure Ron Rivera is excited about to see what will happen with him. He used to be a quarterback. His athleticism is out of this world. So if he works out, he could be a crazy good tight end. But that's if he works out. He also has a very low floor if he just doesn't end up working out. He's definitely a big boom or a big bust type of guy. Then you have interior offensive linemen. That's including both the guard positions and center. And I wanted to just group them together because a few of these guys can pretty much play all 3 positions. So I have 5 interior offensive linemen. I have Brandon Sheriff, the dog at right guard. We need to go ahead and extend him, give him that franchise money with all of that cap space that we just recently gained from finally getting rid of Trent Williams. I don't understand why that Brandon Sheriff contract has not been done yet, but we'll see. We have till late July to get it done. Then you have Chase Roulier, who's been holding it down at center, one of our most consistent offensive linemen in the past few years, so I like that. Wes Martin, I project him to start at left guard. He looked like he had a little some to him that last half of the season when he was at right guard replacing Brandon Sheriff when he was hurt. Then you have Keith Ishmael, who's one of those high ceiling, low floor guys, boom or bust guys. A lot of traits that you love, just needs to catch up to NFL speed, needs to gain NFL strength, all of that type of stuff. He's basically going to be the backup center. And then I love Ross Pierschbacher because he can play either guard position, center, and even kind of play tackle. He had some experience at playing tackle for Alabama, but again, he's a previous regime guy. And if I'm split 50-50, or even if I'm 60-40 like how I was with this, I was 60% Ross Pierschbacher and 40% Wes Schweitzer. I'm just going to go with the guy that was brought over with this current regime. Ross Pierschbacher is part of the previous regime. So if it's close, neck and neck, Ron Rivera will more than likely just go with Wes Schweitzer, who he brought over from the Falcons in free agency. But I hope I'm wrong here because I really like Ross Pierschbacher. And then you have the offensive tackles. You have my boy Sadiq Charles out of LSU, the starting left tackle for college football's most potent offense of all time. The talent is there, literally only made it to us because of character concerns, and with the coronavirus and everything having to be done virtual and teams not being able to talk with people in person to get a true feel of their personality and ask them weird and awkward questions to see how they react and stuff like that. A lot of teams didn't even have him on their board. There were a lot of teams that didn't want him at all, no matter what round he was available in. That's the only reason the Redskins were able to get him outside of the second round. He should have possibly even gone in the first. He's the 5th most talented offensive tackle in this draft class that just passed, but he made it all the way to the 4th round because people are concerned about his immaturity and how he was suspended for weed, even though the NFL doesn't test for that anymore. But I'm pretty sure if anybody can get him right, it's Ron Rivera. So I'm expecting big things out of him, our future Pro Bowl left tackle. He may need some time to get right. He may not be ready day one to be great, but I'm expecting big things out of him. Then you have Morgan Moses, who I know a lot of us are tired of this guy, man. Oh, my Lord, I'm so tired of Morgan Moses. But I wouldn't be surprised with his veteran experience and all of that if he ends up making the team. He may start day one, but he may not end up starting by the end of this season. At some point, somebody may take his job. Like a Cornelius Lucas, who actually looked really good for the Bears this last season. I mean, like, really good. I don't even know why the Bears cut him. They weren't expecting him to be that good. He started to shine, and then they were just like, you can go ahead and find another team. So the Redskins got a really good free agent pickup with this one. One of my favorites of this offseason. So expect big things out of Cornelius Lucas. And if Morgan Moses is out here messing up like he usually does, then expect Cornelius Lucas to end up starting at right tackle. Then you have Jerron Christian, that project that so much potential if he can just add some strength. But so far, these past couple of years, he hasn't been able to add strength. And he just gets bullied consistently. Easily our worst offensive lineman the past couple of years. But if he can somehow add strength like the previous regime was waiting on him to do, he could actually end up being a really good tackle. His mobility, his athleticism, his arm length. He literally has everything you want out of a tackle except for strength. And that's the only thing holding him back, and it's a big holdup. But if he's somehow able to do that, he can end up being a really good tackle. Now we're moving to defense. Like I said earlier, 24 players. This defense should be crazy. I'm expecting big things of the offense, but it's probably going to take time for the offense to get right. There's a lot of competition battles. We'll see how everything works out. It's going to take a minute for Scott Turner to finally get his offense going, Dwayne Haskins to get right, all of that type of stuff. So the offense is going to have some catching up to do, but this defense should be ready day one to be dominant, especially because of this front four. Starting with the interior defensive line, I have 5 guys. You already know Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Matt Ioannidis. Those guys should have the best seasons of their careers ahead of them. Now switching to the 4-3, going from a 2-gap system where they were supposed to attack offensive linemen, hold them up, and then be responsible for the gap to their right and their left. Now they're going to a 1-gap system where they just shoot up gaps. Their goal is to penetrate, get into the backfield as soon as possible. So this is going to be their most disruptive years and definitely their best years statistically that they've ever had in their NFL careers. I'm expecting big things out of those 3. Tim Settle also, I'm expecting big things out of him. He should easily be starting for a defensive line on another team, but our defensive line is just so deep that he's part of a rotation. It's crazy. And then Caleb Brantley, I'm still expecting big things out of him if he can just stay healthy and if he can just prove himself, because I mean this interior defensive line is crazy. And Caleb Brantley used to be a first-round pick with a lot of potential, and he still has that potential, but the rest of this defensive line is just better than him right now. Then you have the edge guys. You already know my boy Chase Young, you know what I'm saying? Then you got my boy Montez Sweat. Nah, I mean, those are easily your 2 starters at defensive end. Thank goodness they're not outside linebackers. They are defensive ends in the 4-3. Go get the ball carrier, go get the quarterback. Don't worry about anything else. Jack Del Rio may get a little spicy with it, a little frisky, a little creative. It might drop them back in coverage maybe once, maybe every 3 games or something, just to throw a defense off. Chase Young, with how athletic he is, and don't sleep on his coverage ability because it's actually pretty good. He might end up getting a couple of interceptions throughout this season. We'll see. And then you have the dependable Ryan Kerrigan. Never missed a game till last season, when he just kept getting hurt after hurt after hurt, sustaining injury after injury. It was just one after another, especially one cheap shot that came from current Redskin tight end Logan Thomas that had Ryan Kerrigan out. But I'm expecting him to come back strong. And even if he's somehow able to play as well as he could in his prime, I'm still expecting him to come off the bench as part of the rotation. I just hate the fact that he's going to cost us $11.5 million off the bench. They need to restructure his contract or trade him. I don't think he's worth $11.5 million off the bench. And I know loyalty and sentimental reasons why a lot of us want Ryan Kerrigan to stay on the team, and I would like for him to break the Redskins sack record, but $11.5 million, dog. Come on, son. And then you have Nate Orchard. I believe there's going to be a battle for that 4th edge rusher spot between Nate Orchard, Jordan Brailford, the last pick of the draft in 2019, and the 2020 last pick of the draft, James Smith-Williams. And I'm expecting Nate Orchard to beat all of them out. His potential is crazy. The very few moments he was thrown out there last season, he shined quite a bit. And I liked what I saw from him a lot, so I'm expecting him to win that 4th spot, plain and simple. But Jordan Brailford and James Smith-Williams, don't sleep on him, especially Jordan Brailford. Jordan Brailford probably has the highest ceiling between him and James Smith-Williams, but we'll see. And then you have the linebacker group. You have Thomas Davis Sr., who I'm expecting to start day 1, but he may end up getting replaced by one of these higher ceiling younger guys. But I expect him to be the starting weak side or strong side linebacker. I'm expecting Sean Deion Hamilton to start at Mike. He's the smartest linebacker on the roster, highest IQ. He's also one of the best coverage linebackers on this roster, if not the best. He was one of the best in all of football last season. Then you have Ryan Anderson, who probably has the highest ceiling at Sam linebacker for us. I mean, those last few games last season before he got hurt, he was looking like a Pro Bowl talent. I mean, he was just getting sack after sack, forcing fumble after fumble. And at the rate that he was doing it in very minimal snaps, it was just ridiculous. If he can play like how he played those last 5 games, he should easily be a Pro Bowl Sam linebacker. I don't think y'all understand. Y'all need to go back and watch that 2019 Ryan Anderson tape. He was going stupid. He finally reached that potential that we knew that he had when we took him in the 2nd round a few years ago. He finally reached it. Hopefully he still has it. Hopefully this offseason he won't just fall off a cliff and forget how he got that good. Hopefully he's still that good coming in. Then you have Kevin Pierre-Louis, athletic freak, a lot of potential. Another guy we got from the Bears that started to shine, but then for some reason the Bears were like, all right, you look like you have a lot of potential and we probably could keep you for cheap, but we'll let you go. The Redskins were like, hey, shoot, we'll go ahead and take him off your hands too. But I like his coverage ability, and he has a lot of potential. Then you have Cole Holcomb, probably the fastest guy out of our linebacker group. His problem is just that he's a big liability in coverage, but run stopping wise, I love him. But I just can't see him getting a lot of snaps, especially like starter level snaps, unless he's able to somehow fix his terrible coverage skills that he has right now. I know Ron Rivera said he loves the potential of Cole Holcomb. He said that like a few months ago when we first hired him, but I just can't see Cole Holcomb in a Jack Del Rio defense being a coverage liability. Your linebackers have to be able to cover very well in a Jack Del Rio 4-3. Then you have Khaliki Hudson, who the Redskins just took late in the draft. He's a hybrid type of guy. And like I said earlier, Ron Rivera has clearly been preaching versatility with all of the free agent signings and draft picks he's made since he's come here. And I'm expecting Khaliki Hudson, who can double as a linebacker safety, to probably end up making this roster. If not just to be able to have somebody that can both count as a linebacker and a safety, which helps your 53-man roster cuts, because now you have a guy that's 2 for 1. But he also has a very high ceiling, another boom or bust guy, so we'll see if he ends up working out. And then this means that Josh Harvey Clemens sadly wouldn't make the roster, and most notably Reuben Foster. And hopefully Reuben Foster can take one of these guys' spots, specifically Khaliki Hudson's spot technically on the roster, and then everybody else just move down. Because if Reuben Foster's fully healthy, he's the best linebacker on this team, point blank period. That's easy. Best linebacker in NFC East, at least. But I'm just not projecting him to be healthy day one. He might start the season on PUP list and then may come up off of it at some point. But this is a September 53-man roster due date projection. So the day that this is due, when teams officially announce it, that's this. This is not at some point in the season 53-man point roster projection, because then you can have all kinds of combinations. You don't know what will happen with injuries and all that type of stuff. So Reuben Foster, I'm rooting for you, but I just don't see you making the active 53-man roster to start off the season. Then you have the cornerbacks. You have Ronald Darby, a lot of potential, just extremely injury prone. I mean, I think he might be the most injury prone player on this team. So whether he'll work out or not, I mean, it's who knows. It's super boom or bust type of guy. Then you have Kendall Fuller holding down the slot, but we're paying him so much money. They may ask him to play some outside corner quite a bit, depending on how good the other guys end up being. Or they may ask him to play a little safety. This is another versatile guy that technically plays any DB position, so that helps with the 53-man roster cuts. Then you have Jimmy Moreland, my favorite corner of the group. I really hope he emerges and shows his talent and ends up starting at outside corner for us and being that Pro Bowl corner that I hope he becomes. That shut down on an island man cover corner. Please make us not miss Quentin Dunbar. Then you have Fabian Moreau, a lot of potential, especially coming out of college, but we played him at the wrong position in the slot for a long time, just forced him there ever since Kendall Fuller went to the Chiefs. He's clearly a better outside corner, even his traits say it, but we were just playing him out of position for so long. So hopefully with an entire training camp under Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera's tutelage, Fabian Moreau can finally reach that potential he has, because he could end up being a Pro Bowl cornerback if he's able to reach that potential and be consistent. We saw what he did those last few games when we finally put him at outside corner. He still made a lot of mistakes, but if he actually gets an entire offseason at outside corner, imagine how good he can be. Then you have Danny Johnson, and I'm expecting Danny Johnson to make the roster over Greg Stroman and the guys, just mostly off of the fact that he's a great special teams contributor also. And he showed a little something towards the end of last season when he made a couple of plays. I liked what I saw from him. And then lastly, on defense, I have safeties, 4 of them. I have Sean Davis starting at free safety, of course. A big boom or bust type of guy. Very athletic, freak athlete, but the Steelers were never able to get the potential out of him. So let's see if the Redskins can do it. I mean, again, if anybody can, it's Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera. So I'm expecting big things out of Sean Davis. I just really hope that there's some stiff competition for him in training camp, so he doesn't get lackadaisical and just assumes that he's starting at free safety. But then again, he's on a 1-year prove-it deal, so he probably will still play his heart out anyway. I'm expecting big things out of him. Then, of course, Landon Collins is holding down the strong safety position. Expect him to be used in a very TJ Ward from Denver, linebacker, safety, box safety type of role in this Jack Del Rio defense. Expect Landon Collins to look like those first couple of years with the Giants Landon Collins again, where he's easily a Pro Bowl selection. Like, it's obvious he has to be in the Pro Bowl type of production, because last season when we brought him over with Greg Minuski's defense, he had Landon Collins covering way too much. I mean, he was out here man covering tight ends and stuff like that. That shouldn't be Landon Collins' job. He should be working in the box as a safety linebacker hybrid role, where he's more comfortable, where he's in the box making tackles and making plays in the backfield more so than covering. So expect Jack Del Rio to use everybody's skill set for what they're best at and not forcing them to do much else. Pretty much why the Patriots have been so great for so long. They get somebody that's really good at 1, 2, or 3 things and makes them only do those things. Doesn't make them try to do other things to confuse offenses or defenses or whatever. They do what they're best at. And I'm expecting Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera to do the same thing with these guys, especially somebody like Landon Collins. I'm expecting greatness out of him. I'm expecting him to play up to that contract. He should lead our team in tackles consistently with how Jack Del Rio is going to use him. Then you have DeShazer Everett, who's just a dependable guy that can play both kind of free safety, kind of strong safety. He's not particularly really good at either one, but you know what I'm saying, we'll see. And then I have Troy Apke, just off of his potential and his speed and how much of a good special teams player he is. He'll compete at free safety, of course. He'll get a fresh start with this new regime. And of course, this means that Cameron Curl, the safety, cornerback, versatile guy that we just drafted in the 7th round this past draft, won't make the roster. But we'll see though, because honestly, he could end up making the roster over DeShazer Everett just because DeShazer Everett's ceiling is so low. I mean, he's already pretty much capped out at what he's going to be. A decent strong safety, a decent free safety. But it's nice to just have somebody that can play both. Or he'll end up replacing Troy Apke, who just hasn't really worked out yet. The potential is still there. Do not give up on Troy Apke yet. We'll see. But even though I don't have Cameron Curl making my 53-man roster right now, after rookie mini camps and maybe even some training camp, he might show a little something that might change my mind before the 53-man roster even officially comes out. The potential is definitely there, and the fact that he's versatile enough to play both safety and corner makes his chances of making this team very likely. Plus, again, he's part of the new regime. DeShazer Everett and Troy Apke are part of the previous regime. DeShazer Everett really is like part of the previous regime. But we'll see how all of that goes. I, when in doubt, went with the new regime players everywhere else, but for this one, I just have a gut feeling that Cameron Curl may take some time to develop, and he may just end up being on the practice squad, but his ceiling is crazy, so don't be surprised if he ends up making this 53-man roster day one. He's another one of those guys I'm wrong with. And then you have your 3 specialists. Tress Way, God-level punter. Y'all already know, Pro Bowler. Should have been to the Pro Bowl several times before this past season, but it's cool. Once you make the Pro Bowl, it's a popularity contest. He should keep making Pro Bowls, but we'll see. Then you have Dustin Hopkins. He's a decent kicker. He makes the ones that you think are hard, misses the ones that you think are easy, but we'll see how that goes. And then you have Nick Sundberg, our long snapper. Dependable guy. Not really much to dive into special teams wise. It's whatever. But yeah, man, that's my very early 53-man roster prediction, whichever one you want to say. I may end up making another one of these before September 6th, so be on the lookout for it. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm live streaming today, tomorrow, whatever time you're watching this, or whatever time I actually finish editing and uploading this. I might not finish this video till Sunday morning technically, so basically I'm live streaming Sunday at 2 p.m. for at least 2 hours. 5K celebration live stream, doubled with the weekly Sunday live streams that I usually do. Same thing. Something I didn't mention earlier, but I mentioned in my previous video, my podcast is on the way. About to get it all together. Definitely want to do a weekly podcast. Just got to figure out when I'm going to do it and all of that type of stuff. Just the details behind it. And then after this, I'm definitely coming out with my draft review, grade, analysis of each player, weaknesses and strengths, all of that type of stuff, including undrafted free agents. That's coming out next, unless like some other breaking news gets in the way, and I'll report that. Otherwise, that's the video I'm working on immediately after this one. Well, I've already been working on it, but it's like top priority right after this one. And then I'm gonna start getting y'all a lot of the videos I promised, like the Air Coryell offense and stuff like that. So please like this video if you liked it. If you learned anything, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't for some reason yet. I don't know how you haven't. Also, hit that bell next to the subscription button if you haven't yet, even if you are subscribed. That way you get a notification every time I'm doing something, live streaming, or a lot of the times I'll schedule a live stream. So before I'm even live streaming, you'll know like a day or two in advance when it's happening, the day and the time. So definitely hit that bell for that. And of course, you'll get a notification every time I release a video. And again, I appreciate the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.